The house had never been so quiet. Dust lay thick on the floor, untouched for weeks. The air had a bitter stillness to it, as if even the walls had given up waiting. The sun rose gently outside, casting long beams through dirty windows, but no one was there to see it. No one but Max. He didn't know how many days had passed. He was too weak now to move much. His breaths came slow and shallow. His body ached with every twitch, every stretch. He had stopped dreaming. Even in sleep, the darkness felt heavy and cold. But he was still alive barely. His head rested against the wooden door, his eyes closed, his paws curled close to his chest like a puppy again. Then a sound dotted first. It was distant, muffled. Something soft, like footsteps crunching over gravel. Then louder a voice. Not a familiar one, but a voice nonetheless. Max's ears twitched, then came a sharp, metallic rattle. The doorknob dotted turned slightly, then stopped. Then again, Max's eyes opened just a sliver. Was he dreaming? Was this another cruel trick of the mind? Bang! The door burst open. Light flooded in. Fresh air rushed over him like a wave. The sudden scent of grass, dirt, life, it overwhelmed his senses. Max blinked rapidly. A shadow moved in front of him, a figure. Then another. Gasps filled the hallway. Oh my God, someone whispered. He's still alive. Max tried to lift his head but couldn't. His muscles refused. But inside, his heart beat faster. This was real. Someone had come. After all the waiting, someone had finally come. A pair of hands touched him, gentle, warm, and trembling. Easy, boy, the voice said. You're safe now. We've got you. He whimpered weakly, trying to speak in the only way he could. His tail gave a tiny twitch. That was all he could offer, but it was enough. The woman began to cry. 2 animal rescue officers had been checking abandoned homes in the neighborhood. Someone had reported a barking sound weeks ago, but no one followed up. It wasn't until another neighbor called complaining of a smell that they came to investigate. They hadn't expected to find anyone alive, but their Max was. A shell of the dog he once was, but still holding on. Still waiting. They wrapped him gently in a blanket, careful not to hurt him. His body was fragile skin and bone. They carried him outside into the morning sun. For the first time in 20 days, Max felt warmth that didn't come from a memory. The world was alive again. Birds chirped. Leaves rustled in the breeze. Cars passed in the distance. It was all so loud, so bright, so overwhelming, but also beautiful. Max's eyes fluttered as they placed him in the back of the van, resting him on a soft cushion. A bottle of water was gently pressed to his mouth. He couldn't drink much, but he licked it, grateful for the taste. The ride to the shelter was quiet. The rescuers kept looking back at him, making sure he was breathing. One of them reached out and stroked his ear softly. You're a fighter, she whispered. Max didn't know what that meant, but he felt safe. And that was enough. The animal shelter, the vets moved fast. Fluids, blood tests, a warm bath. Careful feeding. Everyone worked gently, with tears in their eyes. They had seen cases like this before, but something about Max broke their hearts in a different way. Maybe it was the way he never growled, never snapped. Even as they cleaned his wounds and checked his body, Max just looked at them with tired, trusting eyes. He still believed in people, even after being forgotten, even after starving in the silence. For 20 long days he still hoped. That night, Max slept on a soft blanket for the first time in weeks. He had warm food in his belly, a bowl of water nearby, soft music playing in the background. He dreamed again, for real this time. The girl was laughing. He was running through grass. Someone was calling his name with joy, not worry. And when he woke, He wagged his tail. Days turned into weeks. Max slowly regained strength. With proper food and gentle care, he began to walk again, first a few steps, then more. His fur started to grow back. His eyes regained their shine. The shelter staff cheered him on every day. They called him our miracle boy. News of Max's rescue spread online. Photos of the brave, loyal dog who survived 20 days alone in an abandoned house touched hearts across the world. People sent blankets, treats, letters. Offers to adopt him poured in by the hundreds, but the shelter wanted to make sure Max went to the right home, one that would never, ever forget him again. Afternoon, a woman and her teenage daughter arrived. They had seen Max's story and driven hours just to meet him. The girl walked slowly toward him, crouched down, and held out her hand. Max sniffed it, then gently placed his paw on hers. The girl started to cry. "So many people left you," she said. "But we won't." Max licked her cheek. His tail wagged, and in that moment, Max knew he was home. He had waited. He had suffered. He had hoped. And finally, someone heard his cry. The days blurred into one another. Max no longer had the strength to stand for long. His once bright eyes, full of life and curiosity, were now dull and tired. The little energy he had left was used to crawl from the living room to the door and back, sometimes stopping by the window, where sunlight warmed a small patch of floor. He didn't bark anymore. He'd learned that no one answered. His voice had once been loud and proud, a protector's bark, a friend's greeting, a lonely cry. But now it was just a raspy breath. The walls had heard everything, and the walls had remained silent. So Max fell silent too, but he still listened. Every creak of the house made his ears twitch. Every gust of wind outside made him lift his head for a second, just in case it was a footstep. A car door slamming somewhere in the distance made his tail twitch weakly. Even now, after everything, a part of him believed they'd return. People he loved, the ones who smiled at him when they came home from work. The girl who tied pink ribbons around his neck and kissed his nose when she went to bed. Max didn't understand why they left or how they could forget him. But his heart still waited at the door. Even when his body could barely move, there were still moments when he dreamed. In his sleep, Max would twitch and whine softly. His paws moved like he was running through grass again. In his dreams, he chased butterflies with the girl. He ran circles around the yard. He barked happily as she laughed and threw a ball across the lawn. But when he opened his eyes, it was always the same: darkness, silence, dust. The air in the house was heavy now, stale, and dry. A layer of grime had begun to settle on the floor. The food crumbs he once found in the corners were gone. Even the trash was empty. He had torn through every bag, licked every wrapper, chewed every scrap. There was nothing left. Max licked the empty water bowl again and again, but it remained dry. He had once knocked over a vase and drank the muddy water inside. He'd even tried to chew the leg of a chair just to feel something in his mouth. But now, even chewing took too much energy. And still, he waited. One day, a bird landed outside the window. Max saw it through heavy lids. It chirped and pecked at the ground. For a brief moment, he felt something stir in his chest, a spark of life. He remembered chasing birds in the park, the way they flapped and soared just out of reach. He wanted to get up, to bark, to feel alive again, but he didn't move. Even wagging his tail took too much effort now. Sometimes he would drag himself to the door and lay his head against it. He did it slowly, carefully. His paws slid on the floor, his legs barely working. Once his body gave out and he collapsed halfway there, his side rising and falling with slow, shallow breaths. The weight was getting harder. Every hour felt like forever. Every sound that wasn't a voice felt cruel. A dog barked in the distance once, and Max's ears perked up. but it wasn't calling to him. It was just another dog somewhere far away who was probably warm-fed and safe. Max didn't feel angry. He didn't know how dogs don't hate. They don't hold grudges. They don't ask why. They just love. That's what made the wait so painful. Not because he felt abandoned, but because, in his heart, he still believed they cared. He still believed they'd come back for him. That someone would open the door and fall to their knees and say, "Oh, Max, I'm so sorry." He waited for that moment. He lived for it. One evening, the sun dipped low in the sky, sending golden light through the window. It cast long shadows across the room, painting the walls in orange and red. Max lifted his head. His body trembled with the effort. He looked around as if sensing something, like the day was different somehow. But it wasn't. Just another sunset. Another night to face alone. Still, Max crawled to the door one more time. He laid his head gently on the wood and closed his eyes. He could hear his own breathing now, slower, softer. Time was running out, but he wouldn't give up. Not yet, because that's what dogs do. They wait even when it hurts, even when it seems hopeless. Their love doesn't break. It doesn't fade. It just stays loyal and true until the very end. Max's ears twitched as he heard a faint sound outside. Footsteps? He wasn't sure. He didn't lift his head. He didn't want to hope too much, not again. But something about the sound made his heart beat just a little faster. A voice followed, muffled but real. Then silence. And Max, too tired to move, drifted into sleep again. But this time, his tail moved just slightly, a gentle wag, as if part of him knew the wait was almost over. The house was quiet. Dust hung in the air, floating gently in the soft afternoon light. The curtains didn't move. The clock on the wall had stopped ticking days ago. And on the cold kitchen floor, a brown and white dog lay curled up beside an empty bowl, his ribs showing, his eyes half closed. His name was Max. Max didn't understand what had happened. Just a few weeks ago, the house had been full of sounds: laughter, footsteps, the clatter of dishes, and the sweet voice of the little girl who always said, "Good boy, Max." She used to sneak him bits of chicken under the table when her parents weren't looking. She used to curl up next to him when it stormed outside, pressing her small body into his for warmth. But one day, they left. It started like any other day. The father shouted something into the phone. The mother carried bags and boxes to the car. The girl cried, clinging to her stuffed bear. Max wagged his tail, confused but happy to be near them. He thought maybe they were going on a trip and he'd get to come along. But then someone closed the door, and they never came back. At first, Max barked. Loud, deep, hopeful barks. He scratched the door with his paws, waiting for it to swing open. When that didn't work, he ran to the window and looked out, tail wagging whenever a car passed. Maybe they were just around the corner. Maybe they forgot something and would be back soon. But hours turned into days. The food bowl stayed empty. The water dried up. Max found a small puddle in the bathroom sink and licked it carefully, balancing on his hind legs. He knocked over a trash can and chewed through plastic, eating whatever he could find: old bread, spoiled fruit, a piece of wrapper that made his stomach hurt. Still, he waited by the door every night, thinking maybe, just maybe, they'd come back. He cried, not loud enough for the world to hear, but soft little whines and whimpers that echoed off the walls. He didn't understand why he was alone. Had he done something wrong? Was it because he chewed up the girl's shoe? Was it because he barked too much when the mailman came? Max didn't know. He only knew the silence felt heavy, like a blanket, pressing down on his chest. The nights were the hardest. When the sun went down and the shadows grew long, Max would curl up in the corner of the living room where the girl's pink blanket still lay. He sniffed it, hoping her smell would calm him. It helped a little. But then the hunger returned. Then the cold crept in. Then the fear started whispering, "They're not coming back." One night he heard a noise, footsteps, a voice, a door slamming. Somewhere nearby, Max jumped up and barked. Loud and strong this time, his voice echoed down the empty hall. He scratched the door again, harder this time, his claws scraping deep lines into the wood. Nothing. The sound faded. The footsteps were not for him. Days passed, maybe 5, maybe 10. Max couldn't tell anymore. His body grew thinner. He no longer barked. He no longer paced. He just lay near the door, watching the light come in through the crack at the bottom. Sometimes the light stayed for a long time. Sometimes it disappeared quickly, like the sun didn't want to see him suffering. Max's eyes stayed half closed. His breathing slowed. His dreams were full of warm laps, gentle hands, soft treats, and the sound of the girl's laugh. But when he woke, the house was still dark, still silent. Nobody knew he was in there. Nobody heard the soft cries he made every now and then. The house was tucked between 2 other homes, both empty too. No one walked by. No one cared. Life outside went on: cars, people, noise, movement, but inside the house, Max was slowly fading away. He held on because dogs do that, even when their hearts are breaking. Even when they are hungry and afraid. They hope, they wait. They love, even when love isn't returned. And so Max stayed near the door, every day, every night, listening for the sound of the key turning, waiting for the one person who would remember him. But no one came, not yet.